My 9-year-old daughter stood at our living room window for 4 hours in her pink princess dress, watching for headlights that never came. When my ex-husband finally texted, "Taking my stepdaughter instead, she's prettier," I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I made one phone call that changed everything. My name is Bethany, and I need to tell you what happened that Saturday night because every parent needs to know that sometimes the worst moments in our children's lives become the moments that define who they really are. Picture this: a little girl with carefully curled brown hair, silver shoes that she'd polished 3 times that afternoon, and a dress she'd been talking about for 2 months straight. That was my Gracie, standing at our window at exactly 4:30 p.m., 30 minutes before her father was supposed to pick her up for the Willowbrook Elementary father-daughter dance. "Mom, do you see his car yet?" she called out, pressing her small hands against the glass so hard they left fog marks. I was in the kitchen, watching her from the doorway, my phone clutched in my hand. Roland, my ex-husband, had promised. He'd texted me confirmation just 2 days before. "Tell Gracie I'll pick her up at 5 p.m. Saturday. Already bought my ticket." Those were his exact words. I still have the screenshot. You should know that Roland isn't just any ex-husband. He's the kind of man who left me for his 26-year-old secretary, married her 6 months after our divorce was finalized, and immediately started playing daddy to her daughter from a previous relationship. He's the kind of man who drives a Mercedes he can't quite afford and posts pictures of his perfect blended family on social media while missing every other weekend with his biological daughter. But Gracie still loved him with that pure, unconditional love that 9-year-olds have for their parents, no matter how many times they disappoint them. "He'll be here, sweetheart," I said, though the knot in my stomach told a different story. Daddy wouldn't miss this. She turned to me with those big brown eyes, Roland's eyes actually, and smiled so bright it could have powered the whole apartment complex. "Madison's dad already picked her up. They're going to dinner first at that fancy Italian place downtown. Do you think Dad will take me somewhere special too?" I walked over and smoothed down a curl that had already started to rebel against the hairspray. "I'm sure he has something planned." That was at 4:35 p.m. By 5 she'd moved from standing to sitting on the arm of our second-hand couch, still watching. By 5:30, she'd asked me to call him twice. By 6 when the dance had officially started and her classmates were posting pictures on their parents' social media, she'd gone completely quiet. By 7 she was sitting on the floor, her pink tulle dress spread around her like a deflated parachute, and that's when my phone buzzed with the message that would change everything. I read it, once, then twice, then a third time, because surely I was misunderstanding. Surely no father would actually type those words about his own child. "Taking Kendall instead," promised Tamara. "She's prettier anyway and actually appreciates what I do for her. Gracie will understand." She's prettier. Those 2 words about a 9-year-old child, his own daughter versus his stepdaughter, as if little girls were commodities to be compared and ranked, as if my baby's worth could be measured against another child's appearance. The rage that filled me in that moment was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Not when I found out about the affair. Not when he served me divorce papers. Not even when he introduced our daughter to his new family before telling her we were getting divorced. This was different. This was him breaking the heart of the most innocent person in this entire mess. "Mom?" Gracie's voice was small, defeated. She wasn't even looking at me anymore, just staring at her silver shoes. "He's not coming, is he?" In that moment, I had 2 choices. I could let this destroy her, let it become one of those childhood wounds that never quite heals. Or I could show her that when someone shows you who they really are, you don't just accept it. You do something about it. I knelt down beside her. lifted her chin so she was looking at me, and said the words that started everything. "Baby, go get your coat. We're going to a party, and it's going to be so much better than any dance." What happened over the next 3 hours taught me that sometimes justice doesn't come from lawyers or courtrooms. Sometimes it comes from a community that refuses to let a little girl believe she's not enough. Sometimes it comes from unexpected allies, brutal honesty, and the kind of public accountability that changes everything. But most importantly, I learned that when someone tells you your daughter isn't pretty enough, you don't waste time arguing with them. You simply show the world exactly what kind of person would say such a thing, and then you let the world handle the rest. This is our story, and I'm telling it because somewhere out there, another little girl is waiting by a window for someone who isn't coming, and her mom needs to know what to do next. Life as a single mom wasn't what I'd planned, but Gracie and I had found our rhythm in our small 2-bedroom apartment on Maple Street. Every morning started the same way. Her alarm would go off at 6:30, and exactly 3 minutes later, she'd pad into my room with her stuffed elephant, Mr. Peanuts, asking if we could have chocolate chip pancakes. The answer was always no on weekdays, yes on Saturdays. But she asked anyway, just in case the rules had changed overnight. That Tuesday morning, 3 days before the father-daughter dance, she was sitting at our tiny kitchen table, swinging her legs while she ate her scrambled eggs with too much cheese, just how she liked them. The morning sun streamed through our window, highlighting the crayon drawings she'd taped to the refrigerator, our family before the divorce, our family after, and a hopeful future version where everyone was smiling. "Mom, do you think Dad will remember the father-daughter dance?" she asked, pushing her eggs around her plate. I was packing our lunches for the day, careful to keep my expression neutral. "You promised, sweetheart. It's on his calendar." "Madison's dad is flying in from Denver just for the dance," she continued, her voice filled with that mixture of excitement and worry that had become too familiar. "And Sophia's grandpa is taking her because her dad is deployed. He bought a special purple tie to match her dress." Roland and I had been divorced for 2 years. The official reason was irreconcilable differences, but the real reason was his secretary, Tamara, who was now his wife and the mother of his stepdaughter, Kendall. The custody agreement gave him every other weekend with Gracie, but in the last 6 months, he'd canceled more often than he'd shown up. Work emergencies, he always said, important client meetings, house hunting with his new family. "You know what the best part is?" Gracie said, her eyes lighting up. "They're going to play that Taylor Swift song I love, and there's going to be a professional photographer. And Mrs. Henderson said they're serving those fancy cupcakes from Bella's Bakery." I sat down across from her, reaching over to wipe a bit of egg from her chin. "Sounds amazing, baby." "Kendall's going to her own school's dance next month," Gracie added quietly. "Dad's taking her to that one. But this one is just for us." That phrase, "just for us," broke my heart a little. She was so desperate for something that was exclusively hers with her father, some moment where she didn't have to share him or compete for his attention. My brother Devin stopped by Thursday evening, as he often did, carrying a box of leftover pastries from an event he'd catered. He owned Devin's Delights, a catering company that had become surprisingly successful over the last 3 years. He was 38, never married, and had appointed himself as Gracie's honorary father figure the moment Roland left. "Uncle Devin," Gracie launched herself at him from the couch, "look at my dress." She ran to her room and returned with the dress we'd bought together last month. It was soft pink tulle with tiny silver stars embroidered on the bodice, a princess dress in every sense of the word. She'd saved her allowance for 3 months to contribute to it, adding $27 in quarters and singles to the purchase. "You're going to be the prettiest girl there," Devin said, shooting me a look over her head. After Gracie went to bed, Devin and I sat in the kitchen sharing a bottle of wine that was probably too expensive for a Thursday night. "You sure Roland's going to show?" he asked, keeping his voice low. I showed him my phone. Roland's message from yesterday read, "Tell Gracie I'll pick her up at 5 p.m. Saturday. Bought my ticket." "Beth, you know I love that kid like she's my own," Devin said, his jaw tight. "But that man has disappointed her so many times. Maybe you should prepare her, just in case." "I can't," I admitted. "You should see her, Dev. She's been practicing her dancing in her room. She made him a card with glitter and everything. She even asked me to help her learn some conversation topics in case they run out of things to talk about." Devin shook his head, anger flashing in his eyes. A 9-year-old shouldn't have to prepare conversation topics for her own father. Friday night, Gracie could barely sleep. She'd laid out everything she needed: the dress, her silver shoes that we'd found on sale at Target, the little purse she borrowed from me, and the special butterfly clips for her hair. She'd even written out a schedule for Saturday. Wake up, breakfast, paint nails, lunch, hair, makeup, just lip gloss, we'd agreed. Get dressed. "Mom," she said as I tucked her in, "tomorrow's going to be perfect, isn't it?" I kissed her forehead, breathing in her strawberry shampoo scent. "You're going to have an amazing time, baby." Looking back, I should have known. I should have prepared her. I should have had a backup plan. But sometimes hope is a dangerous thing, especially when it lives in the heart of a 9-year-old who just wants her daddy to choose her, just once. Saturday arrived like Christmas morning for Gracie. She woke up at 6, too excited to sleep, and immediately put on her special day playlist, a mixture of Taylor Swift, Disney princess songs, and that one Justin Bieber song she pretended not to love but knew every word to. By 7, she was in the kitchen mixing chocolate chips into pancake batter because Saturday rules applied and nothing was going to ruin this perfect day. "Mom, can we paint my nails now?" she asked at 9, even though her schedule clearly said noon. We spent an hour on those nails, 2 coats of pink polish called ballet slipper, followed by tiny silver stars on each ring finger that took me 4 attempts to get right. She sat perfectly still, more patient than I'd ever seen her, blowing on each nail carefully. "Madison's mom posted a picture," she said, showing me her tablet. "Look, Madison's wearing purple. Do you think my pink is better?" By noon, she'd already asked me to curl her hair twice, wanting it perfect, then deciding the curls were too tight, then worrying they were too loose. We finally settled on soft waves pulled back with the butterfly clips, a few tendrils framing her face. "Like a princess?" she asked, looking in the mirror. "Like the most beautiful princess," I confirmed. At 3 o'clock, she ate exactly 3 bites of a sandwich, too nervous and excited to manage more. She kept checking the window even though Roland wasn't due for 2 more hours. "What if there's traffic?" she worried. "What if he gets lost?" Baby Dad knows where we live. He'll be here. At 4:30, she was fully dressed, standing at the window, her silver purse clutched in her hands. She'd put her lip gloss on 3 times, worried it had worn off. "He'll be here soon," she announced, bouncing on her toes. "Mom, take a picture of me waiting so we can show Dad how excited I was." I took the picture. I still have it. She's glowing with anticipation, those brown eyes bright with joy, her smile so wide it could break your heart, knowing what came next. 5 o'clock came and went. "Traffic," I suggested, though Roland lived 20 minutes away in his fancy subdivision with the HOA and the community pool. Gracie nodded eagerly. "Yeah, Saturday traffic is probably crazy. Madison already left, she just texted. They're at the restaurant." By 5:30, I'd texted Roland twice. "Where are you?" Then, "Gracie's waiting." No response. His read receipts were off, had been since the divorce, but the messages showed as delivered. "Maybe his phone died," Gracie said, but her voice had lost its bounce. She'd stopped standing, was sitting on the couch arm now, still watching the window. At 6 WAD, the dance officially started. My phone began buzzing with notifications from the Willowbrook Elementary Facebook page. Photos of fathers and daughters at decorated tables, a DJ setting up, Principal Martinez in a bow tie welcoming everyone, Madison with her dad who'd flown in from Denver, Sophia with her grandpa in his purple tie. "Mom, can you call him?" Gracie's voice cracked slightly. I dialed Roland's number, putting it on speaker so she could hear, straight to voicemail. His professional message: "You've reached Roland Patterson of Patterson Realty. Leave a message and I'll return your call at my earliest convenience." "Maybe he's already there," Gracie suggested desperately. "Maybe he's waiting at the school and forgot to pick me up. Can we drive there?" I was about to agree, to spare her this agony a little longer, when my phone buzzed. Roland's name appeared on the screen. "It's Dad!" Gracie jumped up. I opened the message, and the words hit me like a physical blow. I read them once, twice, 3 times, my brain refusing to process what I was seeing. Change of plans. Taking Kendall instead, promised Tamara. She's prettier anyway and actually appreciates what I do for her. Gracie will understand. The room spun. My hands shook. Prettier? He actually wrote that one child was prettier than another? His own daughter versus his stepdaughter? Mom? Gracie was watching my face. What did he say? I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think of a single lie that would protect her from this cruelty. "He's not coming, is he?" she whispered, and the acceptance in her voice was worse than anger would have been. She didn't wait for my answer. She saw it in my eyes. She walked to her room with the dignity of someone 3 times her age, closed the door quietly, and then I heard it. Muffled sobbing that seemed to shake the walls of our small apartment. I stood frozen in our living room, staring at that message, memorizing every word of it. Not because I needed to remember, but because I needed to be absolutely certain of what I was about to do. Roland had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. He'd broken something that couldn't be fixed with weekend visits or expensive apology gifts. He'd broken his daughter's heart with deliberate cruelty, and he was about to learn what happens when you underestimate a mother's rage. I stood outside Gracie's door for 5 minutes, listening to her cry. Each sob felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Part of me wanted to break down Roland's door, drag him out of his suburban paradise, and force him to see what he'd done to his daughter. But rage without purpose helps no one, especially not the little girl crying her heart out in a pink princess dress. Then I remembered something that changed everything. Devin had mentioned it just yesterday when he stopped by the apartment. He was catering the mayor's anniversary party tonight at the Grandview Hotel, the fanciest venue in town. $30,000 worth of food, he'd said, whistling at the number. The entire city council would be there, business leaders, even some state representatives. And Roland's real estate firm was one of the main sponsors. Roland himself was scheduled to give a speech about community development and family values at 8 o'clock. Family values. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. I pulled out my phone and called Devin. "Beth, how's the dance going? Gracie must be having the time of her life." "Roland didn't show," I said, my voice eerily calm. "He took his stepdaughter instead. Sent me a text saying Kendall is prettier and appreciates him more." The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought we'd been disconnected. "Devin? I'm going to kill him," he said quietly, and the controlled fury in his voice matched mine. "No, you're not. We're going to do something better. You're at the Grandview Hotel tonight, right? Setting up for the mayor's party?" "Yeah, we're almost done with prep. Service starts at 7. Roland will be there. He's giving that speech at 8 about community development." "Beth, what are you thinking?" I looked at Gracie's door, still hearing occasional sniffles from inside. Is there any way you could get me and Gracie into that party? You want to crash the mayor's anniversary celebration? Not crash. Attend. Roland's been bragging about this for weeks, about how he'll be networking with the city's elite, how this could launch his political career. He cares more about his image than anything else. Devin was quiet for a moment, then said, "The mayor's wife, Mrs. Patterson, she's actually on the Willowbrook school board. She asked me about the father-daughter dance earlier, said her granddaughter goes there. She seemed really invested in it, kept talking about how important these events are for young girls." "Perfect," I said, a plan crystallizing in my mind. "Can you mention to her what happened? Show her the text if you need to?" "Beth, are you sure about this? Once something like this goes public in that crowd, there's no taking it back." He made his choice, Devin. He chose to hurt his daughter in the cruelest way possible. Now I'm making mine. What about Gracie? You want to bring her into that? I thought about it for a moment. She deserves to be there. She deserves to be seen in that beautiful dress. And she deserves to know that what he did to her matters, that people will stand up for her. "Give me 20 minutes, Devin said. "I'll talk to Mrs. Patterson and text you." I knocked on Gracie's door. "Sweetheart, can I come in?" "I don't want to talk about it," came the muffled response. I opened the door anyway. She was lying on her bed, still in her dress, Mr. Peanuts clutched to her chest. Her face was blotchy from crying, her carefully applied lip gloss smeared. "Baby, I need you to listen to me." I sat on the edge of her bed. "What your father did was wrong. Not just a little wrong, but completely, absolutely, unforgivably wrong. He thinks Kendall is prettier than me," she whispered. "No, baby. He's a man who says cruel things when it's convenient for him. That's about his ugliness, not your beauty. I just wanted to dance with him. I know, and you deserve that. You deserve a father who shows up, who chooses you, who sees how absolutely perfect you are. But sometimes the people who should love us the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest." My phone buzzed. Devin's text. "Mrs. Patterson wants to meet you both. She's appalled. She said to bring Gracie exactly as she is. Gracie, put your shoes back on." "Why?" "Because we're going to a party, a fancy party with the mayor and important people from all over the city." "I don't want to go anywhere," she said, but there was a tiny spark of curiosity in her eyes. "Your dad is going to be there," I said carefully. "He's giving a big important speech, and I think the people there should know what kind of man is talking to them about family values." She sat up slowly. "What do you mean?" "I mean, sometimes when someone hurts us, the best thing to do isn't to hide. It's to stand up, show up, and let the truth speak for itself." "Will Dad get in trouble?" "He'll face consequences for his choices, just like we all do." Gracie looked down at her dress, then back at me. "My dress is wrinkled now." "Then we'll iron it. We have time." "And my hair is messed up." "Then we'll fix it. Uncle Devin is waiting for us." She stood up slowly, looking at herself in the mirror. "Mom, do you really think I'm pretty?" I stood behind her, meeting her eyes in the reflection. "I think you're beautiful inside and out, but more importantly, you're brave and smart and kind, and tonight everyone is going to see that." The Grandview Hotel ballroom looked like something from a fairy tale, with crystal chandeliers casting rainbow patterns across gold tablecloths and towering centerpieces of white roses. The city's most influential people mingled in their finest clothes, champagne flutes catching the light as they laughed and networked. Devin met us at the service entrance, wearing his chef's whites with an expression of grim determination. "Mrs. Patterson is waiting for you," he whispered, then knelt down to Gracie's level. You look absolutely beautiful, Princess. That dress is perfect. Gracie managed a small smile, her hand gripping mine tightly as we entered through the kitchen. The smell of Devon's famous beef Wellington filled the air, mixing with the scent of fresh flowers and expensive perfume. We made our way along the side of the ballroom, and I spotted Roland immediately. He was at a front table with Tamara and Kendall, laughing with a city councilman, completely oblivious to our presence. Mrs. Patterson approached us, an elegant woman in her 60s, wearing navy blue and pearls. Her expression when she saw Gracie made my heart ache with gratitude. It was pure maternal fury masked by political polish. "This must be Gracie," she said warmly, bending down slightly. "Devon told me about your dress. Those silver stars are absolutely stunning. Did you pick it out yourself?" Gracie nodded shyly. "I saved my allowance to help buy it." "Well, you have excellent taste. Come, let's find you both a seat. The speeches are about to begin." She led us to a table near the middle, strategic enough to be seen but not so obvious as to cause immediate disruption. Several people noticed Gracie's formal dress, smiling at what they assumed was a little girl attending a fancy party with her mother. If only they knew. The lights dimmed for the speech portion of the evening. The mayor spoke first, thanking everyone for celebrating 30 years of marriage, making jokes about his wife's patience. Then the president of the Chamber of Commerce discussed upcoming city initiatives. Finally, the master of ceremonies announced, "Please welcome Roland Patterson from Patterson Realty, speaking about community investment and family values." Roland strode to the podium with the confidence of a man who'd never faced a real consequence in his life. His suit probably cost more than I made in a month, his smile practiced and political. "Good evening, distinguished guests," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the microphone. "Community means supporting each other. It means showing up, keeping promises, and putting family first." That's when Mrs. Patterson stood up. "Excuse me, Mr. Patterson." Her voice cut through his speech like a blade through silk. "I'm curious about your thoughts on keeping promises." Roland faltered. "I'm sorry?" "Well, you're speaking about showing up and putting family first. Isn't that your daughter Gracie in the middle of the room, in what appears to be a father-daughter dance dress?" The spotlight operator, clearly confused but following the drama, swung the light toward our table. Gracie shrank against me, but I whispered, "Stand up, baby. Show them your dress." She stood slowly, the pink tulle and silver stars catching the light beautifully. The room murmured, confused but intrigued. Roland's face drained of color. There was a misunderstanding tonight. "A misunderstanding?" Mrs. Patterson continued, her phone now in her hand. "Because I have here a screenshot of a text you sent earlier, forwarded to me by concerned parents from Willowbrook Elementary. Would you like me to read it to everyone?" "That's not necessary," Roland stammered. But Mrs. Patterson was already reading, her clear voice carrying across the silent ballroom. "Taking Kendall instead. Promised Tamara. She's prettier anyway and actually appreciates what I do for her. Gracie will understand." The silence that followed was deafening. 300 of the city's most influential people stared at Roland, processing what they'd just heard. Someone actually gasped. "Dad?" Gracie's small voice carried in the silence. "You said I wasn't pretty enough?" The pain in her voice broke whatever spell held the room. Murmurs erupted, growing louder, angrier. I saw the city councilman at Roland's table physically lean away from him. The mayor's face was stone. "That text was taken out of context," Roland tried desperately. "What context?" The mayor himself stood up. "Makes it acceptable to tell a 9-year-old child that another child is prettier? What context makes it okay to break a promise to your daughter for such a reason?" But the most unexpected moment came next. Kendall, Roland's 10-year-old stepdaughter, suddenly stood up from her table. "That's not okay," she said loudly, her young voice shaking but determined. "Gracie is beautiful, and you're mean. You made me go to that dance, and I didn't even want to. I wanted to go to my friend Emma's birthday party, but you said I had to go because it would look good for your image." She walked across the ballroom, every eye following her, and took Gracie's hand. "I'm sorry he said that about you. It's not true. You're prettier than me, and your dress is way better than mine was." Tamara stood up then, her face pale. "Roland, is this true? You told me Gracie was sick. You said she had the flu." The revelation sent another wave of whispers through the crowd. He'd lied to everyone. The mayor approached the microphone. "Mr. Patterson, I think we'll skip the rest of your speech. This event is about celebrating family values, and you've just demonstrated that you don't understand what those words mean." Roland tried one more time. "This is a private family matter." "No," Mrs. Patterson said firmly. "When you make a little girl cry in a princess dress, when you destroy her self-worth with your cruelty, it becomes a community matter. Every parent in this room understands that." The next morning, Roland called 15 times before 8 o'clock. I didn't answer once. Each voicemail grew more desperate, ranging from angry threats about custody to pathetic apologies to attempted bribes about private school tuition. I deleted them all without listening past the first few seconds. But Tamara's call at 9 was different. "Bethany, I need you to know I had no idea," she said, her voice thick with barely controlled emotion. "Roland told me Gracie had the flu. He said she was too sick to go. I even made soup to send over, but he said you had everything handled." I sat at my kitchen table, watching Gracie eat her Sunday pancakes, chocolate chips this time because she deserved them. "He lied to everyone, Tamara. I'm leaving him," she said quietly. "Last night, after we got home, Kendall told me everything. How he's been comparing the girls constantly, making her feel guilty for getting his attention, telling her she's the daughter he wished he'd had first. I'm horrified. No man who could say that about his own child should be raising mine." The story spread through our town like wildfire. By Monday, it was on the Willowbrook Elementary Facebook page, shared over 300 times. By Tuesday, Roland's real estate firm had lost 3 major clients, all of whom had daughters. Patterson Realty's Facebook page was flooded with comments from angry parents. The country club, where Roland had worked so hard to build connections, quietly revoked his membership. The letter simply stated they held their members to certain standards of character. But none of that mattered as much as what happened with Gracie. That Sunday afternoon, Devin showed up at our apartment wearing his best suit and holding a corsage in a clear plastic box. "Gracie," he said formally, "would you do me the honor of being my date to the uncle-niece breakfast at the community center? I heard they have a dance floor, and I've been practicing my moves." She looked at him skeptically. "You don't know how to dance, Uncle Devin." "That's why I need you to teach me," he said, opening the corsage box. "But first, every princess needs flowers." The corsage was perfect. Tiny white roses with silver ribbon that matched the stars on her dress. She wore that same pink dress to the community center, where Devin had somehow arranged for the DJ to play every song from the father-daughter dance playlist. They danced to Taylor Swift while eating pancakes, and Devin stepped on her feet only twice, both times on purpose to make her laugh. "Mom," Gracie said that night as I tucked her in, "I'm sad Dad said those things. But you know what? Kendall stood up for me, and Uncle Devin danced with me, and Mrs. Patterson said I was brave. Maybe Dad not showing up showed me who really loves me." I kissed her forehead, marveling at her 9-year-old wisdom. "You're absolutely right, baby. Also," she added, Emma from school said her mom saw everything at the hotel, and now everyone knows what Dad did. Is that bad? Do you think it's bad? She thought about it. No, because now he can't pretend to be something he's not, and maybe he'll think twice before hurting someone else. 2 months later, I heard through the grapevine that Roland and Tamara's divorce had been finalized. He tried to reconcile with Gracie, sending expensive gifts that we donated to charity and apology letters that she read once and threw away. The family court judge, who happened to be at the mayor's anniversary party, modified our custody agreement. Roland now had supervised visits only if and when Gracie wanted them. She's had exactly 2 visits in the 6 months since that night. Both times she came home early. The father-daughter dance still happens every year at Willowbrook Elementary. Gracie goes with Devin now, who hasn't missed one since. He even bought his own suit specifically for the occasion and learned how to properly dance from YouTube videos. Last year, they won the dance-off competition, though I suspect the judges were biased by Devin's enthusiastic but technically questionable robot moves. That pink dress still hangs in Gracie's closet, but not as a reminder of heartbreak. She insisted on keeping it because, as she says, that's the dress I wore when I learned how strong I am. Sometimes the most painful moments in our lives become the ones that define us. Gracie learned that night that family isn't just about DNA, it's about who shows up when it matters. She learned that standing up for yourself isn't about revenge, it's about refusing to accept less than you deserve. And she learned that sometimes, when someone shows you who they really are, the best response is simply to let the whole world see it too. As for Roland, last I heard, he was trying to rebuild his reputation in another town 3 hours away. But the internet has a long memory, and every time a potential client Googles his name, they find the story of the father who chose superficiality over his daughter's heart. The truth has a way of following people who try to run from it. But here's what I want you to remember from our story. When someone breaks your child's heart, when they make your baby feel less than worthy, you don't have to accept it quietly. You don't have to make excuses or smooth things over. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply shine a light on the truth and let it speak for itself. Every child deserves to know they're worth showing up for. Every child deserves to know that beauty isn't about comparison, but about the light they carry inside them. And every parent who forgets that deserves to be reminded, preferably in front of 300 witnesses at a formal event. That's our story. If it resonates with you, if you've ever had to watch your child's heart break, or if you believe that every little girl in a princess dress deserves better, then please share this video. Leave a comment about your own experiences with standing up for what's right. And subscribe to this channel because everyone needs reminders that sometimes the worst moments in our lives can become the most powerful catalysts for change. Remember, you're not just pretty enough, you're more than enough, exactly as you are.